A woman named Joanna is a talented fencer who is struggling in her final years before retirement. Her coach and husband, Raph, goes into the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Joanna joins him at the dining table and greets him. He asks how her night was, and she replies that it was the same as usual, a sleepless night. As she watches a clip of her practice, Raph tells her his plan for the day. Joanna feels uneasy when he mentions they will visit a center where she will have a friendly match against a competitive fencer named Audie, who is controlled by artificial intelligence. She tries to suggest that she doesn't have to participate, but Raph insists. Realizing she has no choice, Joanna agrees. Next, Raph and Joanna arrive at the studio, where a crowd is already gathered for an interview with Audie. The interviewer pauses for a moment to introduce Joanna and Raph, noting that Joanna is an Olympic medalist. Raph quickly corrects him, pointing out that it was just a bronze medal. Joanna stays silent, trying to keep a straight face. Raph then answers a few questions from the audience. After a short break, the interviewer announces a surprise for the audience, a match between Joanna and Audie. Both fencers head to the changing room to prepare. While changing, Audie starts a conversation with Joanna. She asks why Joanna hasn't competed since the 2019 Olympics, and playfully guesses that she either had a child or suffered an injury. Joanna simply says no to both, but her expression darkens as a flashback flickers through her mind. She remembers blood on the floor and her hand during her last competition. Audie then assumes Joanna just wanted a break and starts talking about how much she enjoyed her training sessions with Raph. She calls Joanna lucky to have him as a coach. Joanna, confused, asks what kind of sessions she means. Audie explains that before Raph shut down his gym, he trained her one-on-one. Joanna feels frustrated, realizing she didn't know about this. Without saying more, they head out to the stage. Then the match begins. From the start, it becomes clear who the winner will be. Audie strikes quickly and frequently, scoring points with ease. The game ends in a landslide victory for Audie. Raph's expression changes as he grows visibly angry. Later, when they return home, he scolds Joanna for her performance. He tells her that the problem isn't her opponent, but how poorly she played. He calls her performance amateurish and asks what went wrong. Joanna, still upset, asks if he really coached Audie one-on-one. Raph shrugs it off, saying he has trained many students and doesn't see an issue with it. As soon as they get home, Raph begins training Joanna again. The sessions are intense, leaving her completely exhausted. She collapses onto the couch, drained from the workout. Raph approaches and tells her that her performance is still not good enough. He reminds her that this is her last chance since she wasted her opportunity 4 years ago. Joanna feels intimidated and snaps back, saying he doesn't need to remind her of what happened and will train even harder. Next, Joanna visits her therapist for a talk therapy session. The therapist asks her to explain what happened to make her feel this way. Joanna tells her that she lost her intuition just when she was about to make the National Olympic team. She got ahead of herself and acted like a child, even though it wasn't her first time competing in the Olympics. The therapist reassures her that she is fine now because she has made a comeback. All she needs to do is focus on her work. But Joanna disagrees, saying she doesn't have enough time and sometimes wishes she never had to sleep. After the session, Joanna returns home. Raph waits for her at the entrance and tells her they need to go somewhere. Without explaining, he heads out, expecting her to follow. Confused, she follows him. Next, Raph takes Joanna to what looks like a hospital. There, he introduces her to a doctor named Dr. Sutro. The doctor tells Joanna that she and her therapist have been friends for a long time. Her therapist recommended Joanna as a subject for a study she's been conducting. Dr. Sutro then explains the device and how it works. She calls it the Halo coil, a device that will be sealed behind the ears. When activated, it puts the subject into a lucid dream state. To prevent overuse, there are safeguards allowing only 2 sessions per week. Joanna asks if the device is meant to help with her insomnia, but the doctor tells her that it is designed to help her win. Since she can practice while asleep, it will increase her training time from 8 hours to nearly 100 hours a week. Joanna agrees, and the device is sealed inside her body. She then tries it for the first time, and it feels almost as real as waking life. She finds herself on a podium, wearing her fencing uniform and holding her épée. An opponent stands in front of her, and she begins to train with them. When she finally wakes up, she tells them she had a day's worth of drills, but Sutro tells her she was only asleep for 30 minutes. Both Joanna and Raph realize that this device will revolutionize her training session and head home. That night, Joanna tries the device for the first time in her home. She starts daydreaming, and from the voice, she knows it is Audie. Joanna tells Audie that she doesn't want her there, but Audie replies that this is where she belongs. Then she attacks Joanna, teasing her and saying that she sees a waste of life in her. Suddenly, someone in the same uniform steps forward from behind and stabs Audie, killing her. Joanna looks at him, confused because she doesn't recognize his face. She asks who he is. He tells her his name is Elliot. Then, Joanna wakes up to the sound of her alarm. She comes out of her lucid dream and finds Raph staring at her. He asks how it went. She replies that she sees potential in it. Joanna begins her next session with the device and, once again, wakes up in the same place. This time, Elliot approaches her. She makes him remove his mask, telling him that she doesn't know who he is. He asks why she chooses to dream about this when she could dream of anything. She looks confused but replies that she wants to become better. Elliot questions if that is the only reason. Then he plays videos of her match with Audie, pointing out the techniques that caused her to lose. Joanna gets excited and says she needs to go back and apply what she has learned because she has little time left. Elliot tells her that time is a luxury here, then points toward a bathtub. Reluctantly, she removes her clothes and steps inside, murmuring about how long it has been since she last did this. After a long, refreshing moment, she opens her eyes and sees Elliot. This time, she seriously asks who he is. He tells her that he is exactly what she needs. Then he changes the setting to a luxurious hotel restaurant. A waiter arrives, serving all the foods Joanna has been craving, meals that Raph has always denied her because of her strict diet. She excitedly eats a burger and fries, exclaiming how real it feels. After finishing her meal, she asks Elliot how much time she has spent. He assures her that she still has plenty of time to practice and that this moment is just for her. Suddenly, the restaurant starts to shake. She begins waking up and finds herself back in bed, hearing Raph snoring beside her. Next, Raph and Joanna travel to Paris for the NAC competition. On the way to the stadium, Raph warns her about a young junior athlete to watch out for. Joanna gets slightly annoyed and jokingly tells him he should get treatment for his snoring, making him aware of his behavior. At the competition, Joanna performs exceptionally well and easily secures a spot in the top 5. She advances to the final match and wins a gold medal. During the match, Raph stands on the sidelines, looking alone and powerless as Joanna follows her instincts. She no longer relies on him and performs on her own. That night, after celebrating with Raph, Joanna activates the device again. This time, she finds herself in a bedroom with Elliot. She gives in to temptation and cheats on her husband with Elliot, the man she has created in her subconscious mind. Once again, she wakes up to Raph snoring. Frustrated, she looks at the device, checking the remaining hours until she can see Elliot again in her next session. Joanna falls in love with Elliot and tells him in the next session that she prefers lucid dreaming over reality. Elliot reveals a way to make that possible. Next, Joanna hires a programmer, changes her identity, and asks her to remove the safeguards from the device without explaining what it is. The programmer follows her instructions and helps her develop an app that lets her use the device anytime she wants. Meanwhile, Raph notices an exponential decrease in Joanna's reaction time, which made him wonder what she is doing in the dream world that helped her improve this much. After a while, Joanna is excited and shows her new invention to Raph, but he tells her that the rules are made for her own safety. But she counters by saying all that matters is how much the device is helping her improve. For the next few days, Joanna uses the device as she pleases, which helps her visit Elliot more often and train harder. But one day while dreaming, she makes noises in reality, which Raph hears. He becomes curious about her dream world, especially since her fencing skills keep improving drastically. Joanna's behavior starts to change. Instead of accepting Raph's concerns, she argues and stands up for herself more than before. Meanwhile, she competes in another tournament and wins all her matches, relying solely on her instincts. But when she sees Audie among the competitors, her face changes, but Audie remains friendly. Frustrated, she storms into a private room, and Raph follows her. He tries to comfort her, saying that making it to the top 16 is still an achievement. But Joanna lashes out, saying she should have trusted her instincts instead of listening to him all this time. Raph reminds her that lately, she hasn't been following his training at all. Angry, Joanna snaps that everything he taught her is useless and blames him for her downfall. At this moment, Raph also loses his temper. He yells that he is the reason she made it this far. Joanna storms out. That night, Joanna goes to Elliot, who tells her that she might be happier if she gives up on the fight. He tells her that he wants her all to himself and she is living the life Raph forced onto her. When she gets back to reality, Raph approaches her differently this time, calm and collected. He has changed her training sessions as he believes change must occur naturally, and she promises to limit her time using the device 3 times a week. But this plan doesn't seem to be fruitful as Joanna isn't improving and she starts to get depressed. One night, Raph prepares a lovely dinner for her and tells her that he has sent away the Halo device. Joanna becomes furious and says he should have told her first. He tells her he knows about her trips to Elliot in the dreamland, as he has heard her moaning his name several times in her sleep. Suddenly, Raph starts coughing up blood and collapses to the ground. Joanna panics, unsure of what is happening. She reaches for her phone to call for help. But then, an evil thought crosses her mind. Instead of saving him, she considers letting him choke to death. When she checks her medicine, she finds all of them are empty, which means she murdered him unconsciously. After some time, her therapist and Dr. Sutra confront her about bypassing the safeguards of the device and who Elliot is. She tells them that Elliot is her ex-boyfriend, which made her happy for a brief period of time. She explains to them how much she needs the device for the upcoming competition, and after some hesitation, they give it to her. Next, Joanna returns to her dream, where Elliot comforts her as she cries and panics. She tells him that she has killed her husband. Elliot calmly tells her what to do with the body. Following his instructions, she buries Raph in the woods and dissolves his remains in chemicals, ensuring no one will ever find out. Elliot then trains her in a unique way to help her escape from Raph's shadow. From that moment on, Joanna attends competitions alone, winning in every match and drawing Audie's attention. One day, Audie approaches her and says it has been a while since she last saw Raph. Joanna lies, saying he is in Paris taking care of his aunt, who has cancer. But Audie looks confused and tells her that Raph's only aunt died when she was young and that he has no other relatives. Joanna keeps a straight face and insists that Raph sees his neighbor as an aunt and calls her Tata. As time passes, Joanna struggles to distinguish between reality and her dreams. She tells Elliot that she wants to leave his world, but Elliot reminds her that she came willingly and that he has no power to send her away. It is all up to her. Once she gets back to her reality, she stops using the device for a while. Eventually, Joanna qualifies for the Olympics. Before the finals, she talks with Audie and tells her that she and Raph were not on good terms and decided to go their separate ways. But Joanna is shocked when she briefly sees Elliot among the competitors. Days pass, and Joanna wins all her matches, making it to the final round against Audie. Just before the match, Audie confronts her again. This time, she tells Joanna that she knows everything. She plans to expose her to the world, revealing that she knows everything. Then she walks away. As Joanna processes what Audie just said, she hears a voice guiding her on how to safely escape the stadium and head to the airport. She turns and sees Elliot standing there. Instead of running, she replies that there is only one way now. When the announcer calls her name, she steps onto the podium. In the final match, Joanna fights with everything she has. In the end, she wins, securing the gold medal while Audie stands in disbelief. During the medal ceremony, the crowd cheers as Joanna receives her gold medal. The national anthem begins to play, and her eyes fill with tears. Suddenly, she notices people entering the stadium and pointing at her from a distance. Trying to stay calm, she turns toward the audience. There, sitting among the crowd, is Raph, smiling at her. She freezes, unable to tell if she is still trapped in her lucid dream or if reality has finally caught up with her. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.